So I am about to show you something you will never ever have and even come close to having. It is a 370 foot long super yacht. Priced at $300 million, this 24 room, 20,000 square foot behemoth could be yours if your name was Mark Zuckerberg, because that's who this belongs to. One individual owns a $300 million boat. I saw this pulling into Lake Union last night, and it's just absolutely insane. Completely dwarfs not just any boat, but like any yacht anywhere around here. You know, and on one hand, you could look at this as like, wow, what an absolute engineering marvel. Like, what an incredible work of architecture, of craftsmanship, of workmanship. But if you see this as I do, you might instead think of it as an absolute disaster. What an absolute representation of our completely failed economic and corrupt political system. It's just insane. No one individual should be able to easily afford this. Say a few hundred people owned it, you know, then that's a different conversation. But not only one person. You know, and the real tragedy is the one person who owns this has enough wealth to own 733 of these freaking things. 733. Like, just imagine that. Imagine what 733 of these things would look like all floating together. It's just insane. You know, this is in parts a representation of the complete failure of our massively flawed tax system in this country. Loopholes, capital gains loopholes, unrealized capital gains, buy, borrow, die. You know, and unfortunately, because wealth and assets grow, you know, so much faster than the rate of income, because most of this country relies on their growth in income and not growth in wealth to make money, we will never even come close to having even a tiny part of this one boat. Nonetheless, 733. You know, and CEO compensation in this country, my God, what an absolute injustice. It is the work of tens of thousands of employees that generate revenue and profit for a company that size, not just one worker. Like, no one individual worker works thousands of times harder than the average worker of that or any company. No individual makes thousands of times more decisions, is thousands of times more educated, more innovative, smarter, stressed out. No one individual is even hundreds of times more of any of these things than the average worker. And this isn't just Meta I'm talking about. This is any company, any CEO in the world. Yet most of the gains from those workers will all go to one individual. This isn't just why you tax the super rich. This is why you tax the hell out of the super rich. You know, because this isn't just wealth that's extracted from our society and our economy. This is opportunity that's taken from the world. This is opportunity taken from our ability to go to college for free, to have free healthcare, free childcare assistance, free elderly care, food security, housing, affordable housing, the opportunity to preserve and protect our planet, on and on and on. The reason we don't have the opportunity we do is right here in the form of a boat. And I don't blame the super rich for this. I don't. You know, all they do is take advantage of a flawed economic system, but even more so, a totally corrupt political system and politicians that create policies that allow for this wealth extraction to happen. You know, they fail to create policies to prevent money from influencing their policy choices because they're more concerned about their own power and the gains to their own personal wealth. You know, this boat is just the total representation of an economic injustice, and we have to do something about it.